Today we're going to talk about how to build a drying rack. A lot of times some of these area rugs have to be dried flat, and so the challenges we've come up with is how can you get it dried completely when it's sitting on a cold concrete floor, especially if it's raining outside, and of course if you're in the Northwest, that's a hard thing to do. So we developed a drying rack where if we have to do a carpet that's flat, or even sometimes if we have to do what we call a poor man's rug duster, turn it upside down and vacuum the back of it to get as much dry soil out, we use this rack. And so once I get this area rug rolled up, I'll show you how we did it and some of the other drying racks that we have too. And these are really cheap to make. The rug is wrapped, fringes are done. Now let's take a look at what the drying rack looks like. This is the basic setup. It's just 2x4s in a square, and of course we've got the joists going underneath it. The metal is a cattle panel. You go to any farm supply store and just ask them for a cattle panel. This one took 2 cattle panels to put together, and then sometimes there's a memory that tends to show up, so what we did is we added chicken wire just to get rid of the crosshatch, so that doesn't impress a memory into the back of the carpet. Some area rugs have that, some don't, but we wanted to get it up off the wood and we wanted adequate support. So the chicken wire was really no big deal. It's just really cheap. We had these casters laying around the shop, and so we decided to put them to use. And so we just put caster wheels under all 4 corners, which makes it real easy. I'm glad we had those, because we can just roll around the shop, and if there's a project we need, it's not so stationary, and it just takes one person to scoot it around. The hole dimensions are 12 foot long by 8 foot wide, and like I said, it took 2 complete cattle panels, and even then we were a little bit short. And so what we did is we did a little trimming, and we ended up just welding some of them back on to make sure to give it some extra strength, because what happened is this little spot here, this little cross member broke, and so we ended up just welding it back on. But standard fence staples is what we have fixed it to, and so far it's working good. And we just have a dehumidifier and 2 dryers to force air underneath, and as you noticed at the beginning of this video, it really didn't flap that much. So we found this much more efficient, and a dripping, soaking wet carpet that we just extracted with a vacuum with a truck mount. It took overnight to dry, so we just used an extra few hours just to clean the fringes, and it was ready to go. We have now pushed it to its storage spot, which is going to be lifted up against that wall. So I'll show you how we do that. First thing is we've got this eye bolt going all the way through and bolted in very well. And of course we've got this little quick clip, and we have a pulley. If you follow this pulley up, it's got its anchor point all the way up against the wall there, and that is an eye bolt going through and anchored into a 4x4 stud, which is right behind that wall. So we've got plenty of support for that. And of course that double pulley you see is really going to help. Even if you're a weightlifter, that's really going to help. One person could probably put this up on the wall. So let's do that right now. An important safety feature, of course, you definitely want to have a cleat. We of course built this just out of scrap 2x4. That'll hold it. It's not really going anywhere. And as of course I showed you before, it's now up against the wall. We have one extra safety feature, which is right here. We secured a rope to the wall, and we fastened this quick clip to the frame. So just in case it decides to tip, we've got 2 safety features catching it. And so that's it. It's all tied off to the cleat. It's all hanging there nice and neat, ready for the next job. So in a nutshell, that's how we built our floor carpet drying rack. And stay tuned for part 2. That's what we'll talk about, pole drying racks. We have 2 of those, and I'll show you how we built those on our part 2 of this video.